What's up everybody, welcome to Money Management channel. My name is Andrei and today I'm gonna be doing an update on MMTLP and FINRA saga.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up.
And for today's video, guys, I have several quite interesting news. First of all, I will show you a recap of the Dennis Neal podcast in regards to MMTLP saga. On top of that, I will show you quite interesting due diligence that was made by one of our community member. And what is more importantly, I will show you a real bombshell. I will show you that potentially Wes Christian, the person who was hired by John Burda and Greg McCabe and by their company Flamethrower, he was nothing else but just a smoke and mirrors, and he had and potentially he still has a conflict of interests in the cases that he's trying to so-called save from the wrongdoers. On top of that, guys, I will show you a comment from one of community member with a huge experience, and he explains the conditions under which we might have a real breakthrough of our case in the non-litigation path, in the so-called congressional path. So, and before we dive deep into all of this, guys, please hit the like button for YouTube algorithm and drop me a line in the comment section if you think my videos are valuable for you. And let's start with this tweet that was written by Dennis Neal. And just several hours ago, he made an interview with Kristen Shaughnessy. You can find it on What's Bogging Me Twitter account or on his podcast Ricochet. And I have to admit that this podcast was also quite interesting. We didn't have any precise details, the most recent details of MMTLP saga, but Kristen Shaughnessy made a very good recap of the situation in general, and definitely this podcast is worth your attention. And what is more importantly, you can share this podcast with your friends and family, and that is how we can push our case forward even further. So let's take a look at the number of people who signed Daniel's open letter, who signed Daniel's petition. For now, we have 333 people who've already signed it. Let's refresh this page. No, 334 people already signed it. So, and let's take a look at some posts from Daniel, from your favorite SGM. He wrote just a couple of them, and 5 hours ago he wrote this. I've seen the good, the bad and the dirty in this MMTLP fight. Like panic, at the disc says, every experience shapes us, flows, triumphs and all. This battle isn't just about stocks, it's about resilience and refusing to let the past define our future. And he also added this, is there a connection between dropping a stock in the grog and upsetting the MMTLP narrative? Absolutely. In army tradition, grog, a communal drink, gets spiced up with unexpected additions to shake things up. Challenging the status quo reveals the good, the bad and the dirty. And guys, I think it is a very good analogy with our case, because with his litigation where he tries to find the truth, despite the fact that this truth might not be acceptable for some people in the same community as well, I think it is very important to understand that we cannot, guys, literally we cannot have a partial decision or partial truth, because if something was wrong, we have to find it out, and the people who are responsible for these so-called bad things, they have to be prosecuted. And in a minute I will show you what I'm talking about in details, but for now, guys, let's take a look on this tweet that was written by RareDD. He posted this tweet just several hours ago, and he wrote, in the quoted post below from Gary Gensler, he uses a clip from Hassan Minhai, where Hassan says, I gotta give props to the SEC. This is taken from a long story short segment of the Daily Show. The segment was about Hassan's disgust for the Atlas 8 trading group charts with pumping and dumping stocks. I think it's disingenuous that the clip was used given that the DOJ charges have been dropped and there's been no updates about how or if any of the changes will continue to be pursued. Then, about 3 months after the charges were dropped, The SEC charged the former CEOs of Torchlight Energy and Metamaterials with creating a scheme to artificially inflate the value of their stock while they underwent a reverse merger. What's the twist? Torchlight and the upcoming reverse merger was one of the stock plays that the Atlas Group promoted to their followers. To the SEC, first said that it was the Atlas Group that pumped multiple stocks, including Torchlight. But now that their case doesn't seem like a slam dunk, they switched their target to the companies that, according to the SEC, were victims of the Atlas Group. And of course, there is a glaring aspect of the manipulation for years that the SEC ignored, which led to Torchlight believing a reverse merger was the only viable path. This led to Metamaterials, a Canadian company trading on the Nasdaq, but the Options Clearing Corporation, overseen by the SEC and the CFTC, created a pathway to avoid settlement which protected those that manipulated the stock at the expense of the company and their investors. Metamaterials seemingly inherited the manipulation, eventually ousted their CEO, and seemingly compromised BOD's fire, sold intellectual property and assets, and stopped paying bills in order to justify prematurely filing for bankruptcy. That's not all. Torchlight investors that held through the merger received a special dividend that was never intended to trade. About 4 months later, the merger market was created for the dividend. With the aid of FINRA, it was given the trading symbol MMTLP. The companies involved complained and pointed out that inaccurate and outdated information was used to get the security trading. But FINRA ignored the complaints, very similar to how they responded when other stocks' dividend began trading on the OTC against the wishes of other stock. Here is the kicker. The market maker GTS Securities can be linked to both of these situations, and they were also known for working with FINRA in their market surveillance advisory group. After 14 months of trading, FINRA did something they've never done, something they weren't supposed to do. They modified the company's corporate action, changing language and dates, and forcing the issuer to accept the changes. FINRA then revised the corporate action again without input from the issuer, confusing investors and the entire market. And then FINRA usually halted trading 2 days earlier than anticipated, which once again prevented settlement from taking place, protecting FINRA's member firms that held short positions. It's been more than 2 years, and the SEC claims they don't know what to do about the situation. The MMTLP community has uncovered a ton of evidence that shows that the SEC and FINRA were aware of the problem, but they attempted to keep the truth from investors and the greater public. Videos will be added to the thread in case you find this story intriguing. And he added this tweet that was written by Gary Gensler on January 17th, 3 days before his resignation. And yes, guys, we have extremely shady actions from authorities and from market makers back in the days. But at the same time, guys, we have a lot of shady actions from the board of directors of MMAT. And definitely, the most recent lawsuit might also find it out that potentially some people from the board of directors might be involved in the illegal and shady actions. And guys, don't get me wrong, I am completely unbiased person. I don't have and never had MMTLP shares in my portfolio. But from my perspective, from my point of view, I can see that, well, the victims are the MMTLP shareholders, but the predators are all around us. And unfortunately, guys, we can see it and we saw it multiple times, and we will see it in the future, that potentially not actions that were made by the board of directors led us to the resolution of this problem. And let me show you what I'm talking about. Here you can see the Twitter account of Phoenix Tabloid, and he pinned the tweet that he did write on December the 30th of last year, almost 1 month ago. And he wrote, guys, you were warned about these lawyers like 20 years ago. And he added this screenshot of the New York Post article, and it's titled, Short's Nemesis Dumped a Client's Shares. And as you can see, it was published on August 18th of 2006. And guys, Phoenix Tabloid wrote it in response to the tweet that was written by Scott Roth. And by the way, guys, Scott has a very hard conversation with all the community members, and he's still fighting. And I have to admit that I don't like this fight. That is why I don't want to even cover this in my video. So, instead of that news, I show you this one. It was all smoke and mirrors to give the illusion that Christian, means Wes Christian, McCabe and Burda were going to fight for retail investors and MMTLP. Nothing more. It was a diversion to keep people out of court and discovering the truth that there was no oil and it was all a scam. And I have to admit that it is quite brave statement, but let me show you this. Wait a second, I will show you this screenshot. So let me quote you this article in details. Texas plaintiff's lawyer James Wes Christian, the legal mind behind the rush of claims alleging naked short selling in penny stocks, appears to be quite the trader himself. Records obtained by the Post indicate that Christian was a consistent seller of several companies that he is representing in high-profile and bitter legal fights. One of the Christian's first clients, Denver-based Nanopierce Technologies, is arguing in Georgia Supreme Court that it had been abusively sold short by a former private equity investor. According to documents obtained by the Post in May 2001, several months after Nanopierce retained Christian to launch one of the initial lawsuits against naked short sellers, and after the publicly surrounding the legal battle boosted the stock price, he began unloading blocks of stock. These documents show Christian's family trust sold 129,200 Nanopierce shares at an average price of about 53 cents, netting over $68,500. So guys, definitely it is not the best news for MMTLP shareholders, because we were promised that the MMTLP case will be investigated, and the flamethrower was created with this intention. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and unfortunately we are still here, and just several people are still fighting for the entire MMTLP community through litigation processes. And yes, we are here, but we have to fight till the very end. And let me show you another quite interesting update, and it is an opinion of Mark Basile, and his opinion is quite interesting. I found it quite interesting because he explained in which case we might see a major breakthrough of our case through the non-litigation path, through the path of Congress. And let me quote to this. JD Vance News wrote this on January 21st. Breaking: Congress is moving closer to passing a bill that will ban stock trading for members of Congress, their spouses and children. A major blow to Nancy Pelosi. Do you support this move? Yes or no? And Mark responded the following: as soon as this law is passed, you will see that the politicians will not want their hedge fund bodies making more than they do in the market, and then MMTLP may have its day in Congress with some real changes, oversight as well as resolution. And he added a lot of dollar signs. So potentially, guys, yes, we have basically we've been here for more than 2 years, and we don't have any results from the Congress, despite the letter that was written by Ralph Norman's office, and despite all the letters that were previously written by other Congress members who asked for the clarifications of FINRA's and SEC. And unfortunately, guys, we are still here, and the only way how we can force these movements is this one: when the ability of Congress to trade stocks will be banned. So. And yes, this might be quite interesting resolution for the entire market, and through this case we can definitely push our case to the victory. And that is why, guys, I'm 100% for this bill that should ban Congress from trading. And in my opinion, it is very important to understand.
And guys, let me tell you my personal story. I have a wife and 2 children aged 11 and 15, as well as a small dog. After 30 years of living in Russia near the Baikal Lake, we decided to move. Now we reside in Serbia. Although I don't own any MMTLP shares, I invest a lot of time creating daily MMTLP videos. I have been doing this every day without days off and holidays for more than 1.5 years. Now I wish to buy back this time from my family, from my children. We've agreed that I will ask the MMTLP community to support me, and I will give all the money to the children. Therefore, if you believe that I am providing useful content for you and wish to support me, you can join my Patreon account. For $5 a month, I will add your name to my list of supporters if you wish. Thank you in advance. The link you can find in the description below. So, I think that's all information that I want to provide you. If you like my video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And see you guys and girls next time. Bye!
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gone live it up on the attack.